Are you interested in hearing good sentences and bad sentences, or you want to jump into to business law?
Let's hear some good and bad sentences.
All right, okay. That class is Principles of Management. It's generally a sophomore, junior level class. There's a couple of transfers in there, but it's Principles of Management, BUA 260. And the same idea is you got goals on your cheat sheet, plans, organization, leadership, control. And the POLC, I use the word POLCON because it makes it easier to remember. Okay, now none of this is on your test. All right, none of this is on your test. I'm just showing you this is what I taught them, and then gave them a practice test, and I'm going to read you the practice test that they gave me. The practice test was, everybody familiar with Zesto's down the street? The hamburger joint down the street? Okay. Zesto's been in Newberry 40 years. The owner retired and sold it so he could play golf. Great guy named Jack Brooks. The people that bought it from Jack Brooks, it went under in less than a year. They only had half of the menu items. The hamburgers were smaller. The food was not as good, and so they ended up going out of business. So it sat there empty for the last couple of months. Now it has a new buyer. And it's a new buyer. So what I ask these students is, you are the consultant for the new buyer. The new owner has come to you and said, how can I make Zesto's better? All right, that's the fact situation that would be on the practice test. So everybody understand where we are? Okay, and this is the answers that they gave. I won't say whose they were. Zesto's, a franchise fast food chain, showed for 40 years plus years that it can run and be successful. Clearly why it shut down is because of bad owners, food, and menus. In order to get the store up and running again, for it to be sold to the right people, some things have to be done. All right, that is 3 wasteful sentences. Those sentences tell me nothing that I hadn't already told in the fact situation. If I tell you they were in business for 40 years, and your first sentence is, Zesto's was in business for 40 years, you've wasted time. Okay? Because you've told your boss something that he already knows. So don't go over the facts. When I give you a fact situation on the midterm, and it has to do with forming a business, or it has to do with ethics, if I say somebody stole $1,000, don't start out your answer with, somebody stole $1,000. You're telling me something I already know. Okay, so you start out with, this is an ethics question. Well, this person started out telling me about Zesto's, which is exactly what I had already told them. Finally, his 4th sentence should have been the first sentence. They must plan on how they're going to be successful and reach their goals. That's a good first sentence. He plans an organization, which is part of what I had taught in the first sentence. So it gets my attention right away. Owner and manager have to plan and think about marketing, human resources, who they're hiring, routines, education, training, and trust. So that's 2 good sentences because, using a cheat sheet, he covered plans, he covered organization, and then he told me what the organization would be. Every time you make a statement, every time you say something like, they need to trust, or they need more capital. Okay, in your case, they need more capital. That's a good sentence. The fact situation probably has a company that needs more capital. But if you tell me they need more capital, then you got to tell me what that means. They don't have enough money to run their business. They need to sell stock. They need to borrow loans. Okay, so if you tell me in the 260 class, if you tell me they need to organize, that's a good statement. But then you got to tell me how to organize. Okay? This is where you get your grade. Picking plans, picking organization, that makes you pass. And then when you fill in with with the rest of it, your grade goes up and up and up. It's very important for you to understand the principle of grading backwards. I grade backwards. I don't know anybody else that does that, but I grade backwards because I was a lawyer. Everybody in here starts out on the midterm with a 0. So you get points added every time you say something good. Every time you give 5 decision makers, that's extra points. Every time you tell me something creative, that's extra points. I don't start out with 100 and say, oh, he missed this, and she missed this, and she missed this, and knock it down to a 7. I grade positive, not negative. They have to organize what they need to be successful, like how many workers are needed. So now you're doing the same thing with the organization. A flow chart should be made giving power all the way down to the workers on the floor, making the food into the customers. That's a good sentence. If it said a flow chart is needed, that's not enough, is it? But to say a flow chart is needed from the owner and the manager all the way down to the workers, then that explains a flow chart for the whole business. You see why that's a good sentence as opposed to one that leaves something out. All right, and then remember, how many people remember me telling you about the power of 3? Okay? Power of 3. 1, 2, 3, you remember it. Your brain remembers it. All right, listen to what this student said. The manager overseeing everything in the restaurant must be trustworthy and lead properly to ensure quality, efficiency, and customer satisfaction. All right, I love that sentence. I love that sentence. He gave me 3 things that goes into the leadership. And then finally, the goal in business is to make money, which means profit from revenue and expenses. All right? That was a B paper, even though it has some good sentences. The first 4 sentences hurt it very much so. All right, this is an A paper. Listen to this first sentence. This is a planning issue. Period. What if I told you to put as your first sentence? This is a form of business issue. Period. This is a basic business issue. Period. All right? Tell me what it is in the first sentence. That's incredibly important. Maybe not for your English teacher, but it is for your boss. Remember, I got to read 204 of these. So, you know, if I get to number 180, the one that starts out, this is a planning issue, I may just put an A down without even reading, because they've done what I asked. Vesto's been around for a long time and was a pillar of the Newberry community. That's not needed. I told him that. They went out of business for bad food and a bad menu. That wasn't needed. Now he gets back into some good stuff. Now with technology, they can put a poll in the Newberry newspaper or anywhere in the community goes and get their opinion on menu changes. This is a goals issue. So this is a planning issue. 2 sentences later, this is a goals issue. Also, this is an organizing issue. The time to make the food increased by a lot and left customers unhappy, ultimately leading people to not eat Zestos. Okay, and then a couple other stuff. So that's an A paper because of 3 sentences. This is a planning issue, this is a goals issue, this is an organizing issue. All right, you put that in your answer, and you're going to make a higher grade. And I hope you understand, not because I'm telling you that, I hope you understand because that makes it a better paper. Right? I mean, it makes more sense. Okay, this is a good paper. This is an A paper, A minus. It's kind of long, by somebody whose initials are Noelia Adkins. First thing Zestos needs to look at is planning. That's not bad. It's not this is a planning issue, but planning is in the first sentence. First thing Zestos needs to look at is planning. For this business to work, they need a strong marketing plan. They could involve social media or flyer. She goes on to add Noelia. You know, different people are going to have different things. The other paper was big on organization. Noelia's is big on planning. So her plans included marketing. And then she talked about how she would market. So that's a good first paragraph. This is a planning issue, and the plans should include marketing. It could have included something else, but because I leave that up to you. I leave that up how you would do it, but you just got to put it in there. If you say this is a planning issue, and then say this is an organization issue, and you don't tell me what you would plan, that's a C paper. With Zestos' new plan, there should be goals. So the goals are number 2, the business wants to accomplish and a purpose. To make these goals happen, the owner of Zestos need to educate and train all the staff to make this fast food business be successful. The manager would oversee that training and education to the employees who are working. Lastly, in planning, the owner needs to create an environment within the employees to be trustworthy. So, plans, we've got marketing, and then in organization, we've got training. So, Noelia got the check mark and then got something under it that made sense. Everybody see that? Zestos is going to have to be organized. I personally believe that Zestos should have a horizontal flow chart. He'd have more control of the business. The owner would be at the top and everyone below would report to him. The source and vendor would then flow to the marketing, then HR, accounting, IT, and shipping. The manager would oversee these departments. That's great. Okay, this is an organization issue, and here's how it's going to be organized. He's going to have a flow chart, and here's what's going to be on the flow chart. Right? So each time something is said, it's explained. The owner needs leadership to be apparent. The owner needs to get information out to his employees. In leadership at Zestos, the mission of this business will be explained, and everyone will be a know. We haven't talked about leadership in this class, but in this class, in leadership, we talked about information. That it's hard to be a leader if you don't have information on the people that you're leading. All right, I'm going to read one more. When I told you that there was a meeting on Monday and that professors were beating up on the students, talking about the students, traditionally, semester after semester, who do professors complain about the most? Athletes. And out of which is 750 students out of our 1,300. So, and out of athletes, who do they complain the most out of athletes? Football players. So I sat on a Zoom meeting and I listened to professors say, you know, I'm going to start flunking football players. I don't want them in my class. They're cheating. They're not turning in papers. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's a bunch of crap. All right, so I'm going to read you one from a football player. And I think it was the best one I got. I'm not going to tell you who it is, except they're, 6'5" and weigh about 300 pounds. When the new owner or business comes in to take over Zesto, they should put a plan, first sentence, in place so that the business can be successful. For starters, they should set goals, second sentence, that you want for the business. Before they start planning, they have a mark that they want to reach. A great definition of goals, a mark that you want to reach. They said we need goals, they need defined goals. Part of that goal is that we have the help the employees and make big contributions to the Newberry community. Now when they plan, they have something they are striving towards, which is the goal. When planning, they need to figure out how they will market the food to attract customers, like putting ads in the newspaper or website, which is the same thing Noelia said. To keep track of the goals, they should write them down so they are visible and always in mind while working. You will need to build trust with the employees of the restaurant and build back trust with the customers who are used to the bad Zesto's food. You will need to train employees on how they will do their job the right way to get the business going smooth. When organizing, I feel they should have a vertical flow chart with the owner at the top, making the major decisions about how to cook. How to cook, he gets once off the truck, so there's a small window of time that you must get to the customer. Blah, blah, blah. That was an A+ paper. He hit goals, he hit plans, he hit organization, he hit leadership. And under each one he hit, he had one or two things to say that defined it. It was the shortest of the ones I read, or the most concise is a better word than the one I read. Now, that was 3 A's and a B. Well, this was an A. The first two were an A. What did you learn from that exercise? From me reading those four? Anything? Yeah. All right. No unnecessary information. Particularly, don't tell me the facts over. Somebody said something over here?
So the first sentence is the best part.
The first sentence is the best thing. First sentence, absolutely.
All of those papers had the same thing in common.
Which is?
When they were explaining why they put down plans, organization.
Okay, good.
They all were able to list one or two
All right.
things.
All four had one thing in common, that once they had picked one of the issues we studied, each one then explained what that was. There wasn't any of those papers that had something like, this is an ethics issue, and then the next paragraph, this is a property issue. If you find an issue, you got to explain it. Anybody else? All right, I hope that helped a little bit. I still owe you the A+ answer. I'll get it up this afternoon. I've been busy. All right, Monday, we've got a full semester review of everything we've gone over. I'm not going to add property we hadn't already gone over. So we'll do that after the midterm. So make sure your name's on this piece of paper. Thank you for coming. You get 2 points on your midterm. If you sign the piece of paper, you can go.